Are we actually the same when admin walks in as when they're not? That's a whole different story, but we're not going to talk about that. If you are here, you probably have a teacher interview coming up soon, and I am going to help you nail that teacher interview and get the job. I am Nykki, and I am a 6th grade math teacher. I've had 5 different interviews, and every single time I have gotten the job. So I want to help you also get the job when you go in for your interview. The first thing we're going to talk about is what you should wear to your interview. Honestly, this is kind of up to you, but I would definitely keep it super business casual. You can wear a dress, you can wear slacks and a cute blouse. I would definitely avoid jeans and a t-shirt. You don't want to go in looking casual. It is an interview after all. I know that as you're teaching and when you're teaching, you're probably dressed a little bit more casual and you're in tennis shoes because, we spend the entire day with kids, right? But when you are going to an interview, you definitely want to make sure that you are looking your best. So take the time to dress up. Just make sure to keep it classy, guys. Keep it classy. The next thing we're going to talk about is hair and makeup. Hair and makeup is something that I enjoy so much. If you don't know, I am also a SEINT makeup artist. I apply my makeup on camera all the time. I can definitely help you get your makeup on when you are going in for your interview. Make sure that your hair is nice and styled. You want to make sure that if you are wearing a ponytail, that it is straight and back and you don't have hairs flying all over the place. My suggestion is always going to wear it down, straightened, or with curls in it. Just make sure that your hair looks good, guys. Makeup, keep it natural, keep it pretty, don't go overboard. You don't want to smother on all the eyeliner at this point. I would avoid eyeliner completely for your teacher interview. If you don't wear makeup every day at school, that's fine. I would still wear makeup to your interview though, unless you absolutely don't wear makeup ever and then just go in with no makeup. If you're looking for any tips, tricks, tutorials on how to do makeup, how to apply makeup, go ahead and check out my channel. All of my shorts are usually about makeup, so you can find lots of tutorials, lots of tricks there from me showing you how to apply makeup. Okay, let's get into the biggest part of the interview, the questions. This is the most terrifying part of any interview, right? We don't know what they're going to ask, and we can't really completely prepare for every single question that might come up, but I'm going to go over about 15 to 16 questions that I've been asked in the past, and they're pretty popular questions for teachers at their interviews. And I'll also give you some advice on how to answer the questions, okay? The first question is, why did you become a teacher? This question is very personal to you, and my advice is to answer it as honestly as you can. Most likely you didn't become a teacher because of the money, right? We all know that. But just be honest on why you chose to be a teacher. Are your parents teachers? Did you grow up with a teacher that was just super prominent in your life and you want to be just like that teacher? Why did you choose the profession? Just be honest here. I can't really answer this one for you. I chose to become a teacher because I love to be around kids, and I went into foster care, and that was a little bit too much for me. So I wanted to just get into the classroom so that I can help as many kids as I could in the teaching world. Of course, I said that a little bit better in my interview, but you definitely want to show in this question that the kids are important. That's what I can say about the interview in general. You need to be honest. You need to show how much you care about the kids. That's what it's about. Teaching is about the kids. It's not about any of the other stuff. So anytime you can really talk about how much you want to help kids, you're going to be golden, okay? Another question that I've been asked before, and it took me a little bit back, and keep in mind that I still got hired even after answering this question, but I've been asked, what is your teaching philosophy? And I feel like maybe in college I had to write out a teaching philosophy little blurb or something. I don't really know, but I would definitely just, in a teaching philosophy, you want to hit like those really big points of classroom management. Classroom management is so important, and if you cannot get control of your kids, there is no way you are going to be able to teach them. No way whatsoever. And that's why I really want to focus on classroom management on this channel. So definitely keep watching, because I'm going to be posting a lot of classroom management tips and tricks and strategies. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss those, because I do consider myself a classroom management expert. I'm really good at classroom management. It is my thing. My kids are always doing what I want them to do, and it's just something that I'm really proud of myself at. So definitely in your teaching philosophy, you want to talk about, what does your classroom management look like? How do you communicate with your kids? How do you build relationships? How do you make sure that they want to learn from you? You can also talk about your relationships with parents in your teacher philosophy. How do you want parents involved in your classroom or at home? That should all be in your teaching philosophy as well. All right. The next question that you get asked a lot, especially nowadays, is how do you incorporate technology in the classroom? And this is a big one. I would actually turn it around. If you were asked this question in an interview, I would turn it around back on them, and I would ask them, how is technology used at the school? Are computers one-to-one? Or do students have to use a cart and they only get it for an hour a day, or do they have to go to the computer cart? Because depending on that answer is going to be how you can really answer how you use technology in the classroom with the kids and them being on the computer. On the other hand, you can talk about how you are super great with technology. If you are a younger teacher, you probably are really good with technology, because that's what we grew up with. We know technology, we know computers, we know how to make all the smart boards work. So definitely lean on that and make sure that they know that you are super tech savvy, and you are going to come in and you're not going to need a ton of help, because you already know how to use all the technology. You don't need someone to show you. You've got it, and you're going to be able to teach your kids exactly how to use technology as well. It should make you stand out. If you're not as good with technology, that's okay too. Just let them know that you want to learn more and that you are a quick learner and you are open to any kind of technology in the classroom, because a lot of schools nowadays, technology is a big deal. It's a huge deal. The world is going to technology, okay? All right. The next question is going to be about your classroom management. What is your classroom management strategies? How do you build classroom management in your classroom? With this interview question, I always talked about how I think classroom management is the single most important thing in a classroom. I do not believe, and again, I said this earlier, I do not believe that you can teach a class of students if you don't have classroom management under control. This is something that is not taught in college, guys. You have to actually see it in action. You have to actually do it in order to learn it. This did take me a couple of years to figure out, and now I consider myself great at classroom management, and so I can answer this question according to my own experience. If you don't have as much experience, if you are brand new to teaching, then you definitely just want to talk about your student teaching experience and how you learned all of the great techniques to get a classroom under control, and how important the first few days of school are in getting those routines set into place. Definitely talk about routines. It is so important for kids to have routines. They strive with routines. And it's important to take those first few days to really teach those routines and have students working on those routines over and over and over until they get it. These are great classroom management strategies to really talk about in the interview process, as far as how you're going to get your classroom set up at the beginning of the school year and off to a great start. Another question you might be asked is how you feel about admin coming into your classroom. How do you feel about walkthroughs? How do you feel about observations? Just say that you don't mind the observations and the walkthroughs, because you're going to learn something from them, and anytime they come into your classroom, they're going to give you feedback, and you need that feedback to become a better teacher. Any kind of criticism, any kind of observations, anything like that, you need in order to become a better teacher. You will take any feedback that they can give you and you will run with it. You will work your hardest to become a better teacher, and you love getting feedback. Another question that will get asked a lot is, how do you support parent involvement, or how do you expect parents to be involved in your classroom? This is big because most schools in their mission statement, and you definitely want to read their mission statement before your interview. Please, 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 please go to their website before your interview and read as much as you can. Read their mission statement. Watch any videos that they have on like their admin, their principal. You should know the principal's name before you even walk into that building. You need to make sure you are doing your part in researching that school before you walk in. So you should know the mission statement by now, at least like part of it. You probably don't know it. I'm not saying memorize it. There's no way. But definitely you should have some sort of idea of what the school expects with parent involvement, and then you can kind of go off of that. But in general, you definitely want parents involved in the classroom. You want to talk about how it's a team. We are a village. We want parents involved, students involved. You want like everyone involved. Another question that is asked, and I've been asked this multiple times, is how do you check for understanding? How do you know the students are learning what you are teaching them? And here you really want to talk about data. How can you get data in your classroom? A big one is exit tickets. Talk about exit tickets, how you are going to teach a lesson and then you are going to give them a super quick exit ticket. Then you're going to collect those exit tickets and you are going to decipher all the data and you're going to put it all together and you're going to decide if the students learned it or not. If you want to talk about mastery, mastery is usually 85% or more. And then you can talk about what you're going to do about those 5 to 6 students that did not get it. You're going to meet with them. You're going to pull them in small groups. You're going to help them, but you're not going to reteach the material to the 85% of the class that got it. Just talking about how important those exit tickets are, how important it is to walk around and watch them as they are working. Another really great check for understanding strategy, this quick tip in here, is to, once you give out a worksheet or once you give out an assignment, have them do like 1 or 2 and then raise their hand so that you can come over and check those 2 before they move forward. So if you're doing that and you've checked like 3 or 4 and they're not getting those first 2, you know you need to stop and you need to reteach the whole class and then try again. That's just a really quick classroom management technique that I'm going to throw in here for you that you can use during your interview. You may be asked about how you will handle a defiant student. If you have a student that is in your class and they are misbehaving, how would you handle that? Or you may be asked something like, have you had a student in the past that was difficult and what happened? How did you handle that? So be prepared to answer a question like that. You can talk about how you pulled them aside and you had a conversation with them and you asked them what was going on. I definitely believe that if a student is being super difficult in your class, then something else is going on. So if you can have that one-on-one conversation with them, pull them aside, find out what's going on, and help them. A lot of the time, they just want your attention. And if you're not going to give it to them, they're going to get it. And they're going to get it in the worst possible way if they have to. So if you can give them some positive attention, definitely do that. So I would talk about that in this question and about how I really built a relationship with that student. That's the key, guys. That is the key. Classroom management and relationship building is the key. That is the only way you are going to get through to all of your students. I have 2 more questions that we're going to go over. The first one is, how would you describe yourself, or what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? The big one is the weaknesses. You want to find something that is not like super terrible, right? A lot of the times I will talk about my patience. I am terrible with patience. I have 0 patience, and so I'm working on that. But it is something that I think is a weakness of mine. I also will sometimes talk about how I like to take control of every single situation. So I'm kind of that person that will do all of the work so that it gets done right versus really delegating. But again, something that I'm working on and I'm much better on. So definitely, if you can come up with a weakness, make sure you follow up by that is something that you are working on and you are getting better at. That's a question, though, that comes up a lot. And then the last question that will be asked sometimes is, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Or what is your goal down the road? Something like that might come up. And this, again, is completely personal to you. So I really can't answer this question for you. But if you have some goals of, maybe you just want to be in the classroom, you can tell them that, I have no intention of leaving the classroom. I want to be with the kids. That's where I want to be. Or maybe you want to be a principal one day, vice principal. You want to be a coach for your teachers, your fellow teachers. That's my goal one day, is to move into a position where I am coaching other teachers. That's far down the line for me, but that is my ultimate goal. So that's how I would answer this question. So just think about how you would answer it. Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? So they finish asking you all of the questions they have for you, and then they look at you and they say, do you have any questions for us? Every single time, guys, every single time they're going to ask you this. And you need to be prepared. Have at least 1 or 2 questions to ask so that they feel like you are actually interested in the job, and it just gets the conversation going a little bit longer and a little bit further, and they get to know you so much better. And that's what you need in an interview. You can't just expect to go sit there, answer all their questions in like the perfect manner, and then leave. You need to ask them questions. You need to get the conversation flowing, because they are going to like you so much more. So let me give you some examples. The first thing I will say is to make sure that you've done your research on their website. So if there was anything on the website that kind of stood out to you and you want to ask a question about more, definitely do that. So have some questions already in mind from just looking at the website and doing your research. And then you can also ask questions about the job in particular. Like you could ask questions about the routine, like prep time. I know I did ask about what kind of prep time there was in the day at my last interview, and I kind of felt like that was a brave question to ask. But guys, teachers are needed so much, and there's so much out there for us to really look at. And so I felt like I wanted to ask the questions that really mattered, and I wanted to make sure that I wanted to be at that school too. I wanted to make sure that I was going to get prep time, because we need prep time. Otherwise, we're doing everything outside of school hours, and I'm not okay with that. So I did ask questions like, what does our prep time look like? What does our routine look like? I did ask those questions in my last interview, okay? So don't be afraid to ask those questions. Just ask them in a nice and genuine way, and they'll answer them for you. I asked a question, how do you cultivate culture among the staff? Something like that, because you want to work at a place that you love going to. And if they're not doing anything to cultivate the culture of the staff, then it's not a place you want to be. You want to make sure that you can go down, if you're a 6th grade teacher, you can go down to the kindergarten teacher and you can say hi. You want to make sure that you can make friends where you work. They don't have to be your best friends, but you want to like going to work. So ask those types of questions to make sure that you want to be at that school, okay? Other types of questions that you can ask are about like the support that you're going to get. Is there professional development opportunities? Do they offer coaching? How often can you go in and talk to your principal? Are doors open all the time? What does that look like? So you can definitely ask questions about the support that you're going to get as a teacher, because we need support. Okay. You can ask about the students, the classroom. You can ask about what's the general size of the classrooms, like literally like width and I don't know. Or you can ask like how many students are in the classroom. Where do you cap that? You could ask about what do they expect as far as decorating the classroom or bulletin boards. You can ask all that stuff about what you want to know about the classroom and the students. You can also ask more about the school. Hopefully you know the hours because you did research. You could ask about what are some of the school's greatest achievements? What are this school's goals? What does the school want? Where does the school want to be in 5 to 10 years? You can also ask about the community. So if you don't actually live in that school's community, you can ask about the community. You can ask about how much parents are involved in the school. Is there a PTO? Is there Are there any kind of communities within the school, and what is the community like outside the school? You can ask them how they would describe the culture of the school. You can ask them what qualities they are looking for a perfect candidate, because that can really open up your discussion on why you feel like you would be that perfect candidate. You can ask about what kind of extracurricular activities there are. Are there sports? Is there cheerleading? Is there all that fun stuff? So there are so many different questions that you can ask, guys. Write some down. I know I typed a bunch in my notes in my phone before my last interview because I wanted to make sure that I had them fresh on my mind. And before I got out of the car, I read them again so that I was prepared and I knew what I wanted to ask. And then, of course, if anything came up during the interview, I asked that as well. But definitely, you need to be prepared for these interviews. All right, let's talk about the awkward goodbye. How do you say goodbye at an interview? What do you say? Do you shake everyone's hand? Do you just get up and walk out the door? I always shake everyone's hands. And nowadays, your interview is going to be with more than one person. I know for me, it was the principal, the vice principal, and the teacher coach. You will have at least 3 people in your interview. Definitely, once the interview is over, try to keep it as little awkwardness as possible, but what can you do? Get up, shake their hand, give them a nice smile, and say, I cannot wait to hear from you, and let me know if you need anything from me. And then turn around and walk out the door. So, you've left your interview, you are back in your car, the awful wait is happening. You want to make sure that you follow up with your interview. What I did was I sent an email to everyone that was in my interview, and I just said something super quick and simple, like, thank you so much for meeting with me. I look forward to this opportunity. I can't wait to hear more about blank, something that you talked about in the interview, or I feel like I will be a great fit for this position because, again, pulling from your interview, something that you talked about in your interview, super short. Like mine was just like a small paragraph, and then I said, thank you, and I cannot wait to hear from you. Sign my name. I put my phone number in there just in case so they don't have to go and find it. But that's how I do my follow-ups, okay? Luckily, this last interview, I didn't have to do that follow-up because they literally called me an hour later and I got the job, which was super exciting. I typically will send a follow-up literally that night. And then if I don't hear from them, I will follow up again probably the next week. And then by that point, you probably don't need to follow up anymore, but I would still follow up until they at least tell me yes or no. But hopefully, if you follow all of these awesome strategies and all of these tips that I gave you in this video, you are going to nail it and you will have a job. If this was helpful to you, please make sure you subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you made it all the way to the end of this video. The last thing I want to say is good luck on your interview. And if you have any other questions that you want answered, please leave them in the comments or send me an email, get in touch with me. I would love to help you. Make sure you feel confident before you go into your interview. And also let me know when your interview is in the comments so I can come in and I can check on you to see if you got it and how it went. Make sure you comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.